Hello everybody, back at it again. As I promised you, I turned Gerry Dune upside down, which I have, and what I'm going to be doing shortly is working on this edge here. I'm just doing that stuff, getting that all down because I've partially started here. Now I want to work on this, then I can get this section rounded off. With this job, it's one step forward, 10 steps back, but that's all part of carving, especially when you're learning all about it. You take those extra yards to make a good job. So I'll just turn this around so you can have a fair idea of how here I've got a bit of foam, and I've shaped this bracket here and allow for the thickness of the foam, which is probably about 5mm. When it's compressed, that's an easy thing to do. Just push the sponge together and get a fair idea how much you have to remove after you've taken the profile of the back. Now as you move it around here, you see I'll put a clamp in there. And the points to do with clamping is closest point and the highest point of a clamp should be always what you are clamping. So that's a high point there, and that's a low point. So what happens when you're pulling down on the bolt, all the weight is coming down forwards of that bolt because it's an angle. And that way you get, and I've got that very tight, just tight enough with the weight on. And plus I've added a little bit extra on the front there, so it's tightening down a little bit further on over that way. So it's enough for what I want to do, at least it's not going to fall out. Anyway, what I'll do now is I'll move these guys up to the top here. I've got some new brackets that I'll put up there, so we don't get this light interference, and then you've got a good view from the top there on what I'm actually doing on the next part of the job. Right. Okay, now we've got the overhead view, and so you can see, match that all the way in. I've got to tape this all down, carve it all the way. I will be using a combination of chisels and plus electric tooling. Get all that. Just another thing, what I have been doing the last couple of days is looking closely at things that may happen with this carving. As the wall thickness gets thinner around the side, as I carve away, I've got to keep an eye on the thickness. Now it's very hard to do. The tool I was using, inside-outside caliper, was too short, so what I did is I made another one. And how these guys work is we say that's the thickness of the wood there. Okay. We don't know that, and we can't just, if we just have a normal set of calipers. So with the inside-outside calipers, you can see, if you go to this other end, what I've just measured there. Watch me hand, I'm not touching anything. Come up here. I've got the same measurement up this end. So that's easy, you can measure a piece of wood like that as exposed, but when you come to measure a piece of wood that's been machined away or carved away down at this point here, how do you do it? Well, you put this gadget here, this inside-outside caliper, put it up against the surface that you want to inspect out. We'll come back to there and we check. Okay, then we look at this end here, and that's what is the thickness of the wood down here. The reason why I had to make this one is COVID-19 is number one. Number two, but I can't get any bigger than 6 inches or 150mm. So I had to get one that's about 9 inches long. And lo and behold, there's only one way to do that, and that's make it yourself. That's one thing I've learned about carving. You never make a mistake, you just alter what you're doing. You don't go reckless into a carve, just go there with deep thought, and in the end it'll all come out spiffy. Okay, we're progressing on to carving in this very hard section at the moment. Good music to do something like this with. Alright, what I'm trying to do here is to carve this section down to make it blend into there. Then I'm going to blend that around. File up here, I'll give it a go with. See it there, then I'll just carefully go inside there and radius that off and come around. A lot of work, and this is a very ambitious project for me. As I say, is you don't give up on something that you like doing, because it involves doing a little bit of chiselling and all that, but it's fun. It's really good fun. This wood here, I'm carving at the moment, is rose, and just have a look at it and I'll show you how easy it is to carve. You see my carving motion? It's not dig into it, just slide it across like a knife, and that way you get the removal of the chips, a nice shaving, and there's appearance. Look at that, look at that. It's just like butter coming off. You don't dig in it too. I've got a bit of material so I can show you what could happen. What happens when you try and go there. See that? You start from the other side and take it off, because you're going on angle, you want to go down the angle. So this is what we're trying to do. We go here and we'll take it down a little bit more. Because this section here to the back is going to have a little door that's going to fold out, and that means I have to have square edges here. I have to find out what angle is, set it up in the saw once I've got it all done, and then just machine away two flat surfaces, so when the door closes in and out. At the moment the door can only go inwards unless I get a really fine edge where the door sits along there, which is not really craftsmanlike to me. I would rather have a nice true edge where it sits in there nicely. So that's my ambition, and I'll just keep on going on with this job, and you can watch for a little while, and then I'll change this around to another position and we'll come across that side. We'll just carve this away a little bit at a time. Many fine cuts is better than one big large cut. You got to feel yourself into the carve. Fine. Once you become part of that, that's it. Even myself, I must admit, before I started this morning, I said, well, how in the heck am I going to go? Well, once you just sit down and start looking at things, and just say, oh, I hope I don't wreck this. Just get into it and see what you can do. Your mind will run rampant. You can see I carved this a little bit out there. It's probably about 5/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit less, probably. And on this side there's even less, because there's a reason for that, and as we progress we'll let you know. Fingers crossed that I have got the right radius. I have to finish the radius off at the top here to make that steeper around here, dropping off, and I'm sure it would be very close to my estimations how I measured up and to do this job. Right, that one down, and now we'll grab our little tool and we'll give it a bash this way. With this machine, I'll just turn it off, I'll show you. There we go. Now I'm turning it off. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see that now. You can see when you're cutting, those little teeth are all in a row. So if you go up and down like that, all you do is put grooves in there, which is right. You can go that way and then you go that way. And then you want to see how quickly you remove the material. So let's try it. Like it? And you don't have to put much pressure on before you get that starting to really chew it out. Right, I might have to change the tool and go down a little bit deeper, trying to get down into that section to smooth it out, to round it off. Got a little bit more to take out here. Bit of blending around there, a lot of blending around here. Sorry, a lot of blending here. How's that? There. You can't really see the profile on this side. On this side compared to this side is different. You can see the thickness here. Because if we look at his hand, what we're trying to create is the body showing a position that is moving around to the thing there. And so it's in a partial circle because he's, you know, he's looking at us. That's what it's going to eventually do, and looks. He thinks we think he's or what we know is he's looking for food. He might suggest that we have food in their hand for him. This is where the legs are going to come off. You can see I've got them at 90 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to stack the wood up to the right height here, and the shape is, and then I shape it back into where I've got to go. We've got a lot of work before we get into here, but all these things you can do. Just use your head a little bit. Right, so I better carry on, finish this section off here, and then I'll do the other side. And I might just trim that leg. It's a little bit square for my liking. It's got to be rounded off. That's why I can't get in there. But then again, we've got to understand that this foot is forward, so it should be a little bit bigger gap than what I've got there. But I'll work on that, and I'll get back to you later. Hello everybody, back again. We've taken Gerry Dune apart again, doing a little bit of sawing. Hope you can understand what I'm doing. What I'm doing is machining this groove here, and you can see that it's offset. It's got to be 90 degrees at that point there, down to there, because the shape of him at that position is, when that's at 90 degrees, that's the angle of the side of his stomach, the internals of his stomachs. Right? What I'm trying to achieve here is a little bit of shape. So I finished this one. And I'm just taking this one down a little bit deeper. So what you can watch while I do the cut on the machine. Right, put the safety gear on. Ear muffs on, always safety gear. not too bad. And clean that all up. Now I've got to square it off to that line, down to there, back over this way. And it's a nice straight surface through there. I don't know if you can see that. What we'll do now, I'll carve up these. I've already checked this out. I reassemble it onto the carving and checked it out, make sure it's true to form, they were square, and I'm happy to report it is. First of all, I've got to clean this section out with a chisel. I might get you guys to watch a little bit of chiselling and hopefully it comes out okay. I've got to be very careful that I don't roughen that surface up too much. So it's got to be nice sharp chisels, easy as it goes, a little bit at a time. You'll get the idea. I'll come back when I'm finished. Just a little problem that's cropped up here, or a little problem. Maybe it's called the depth of the saw cut. It's not quite enough as what I wanted it to be. The profile of his underneath parts come down here. That's where I like them even more, be better. The only trouble is, if I put that piece of wood in there, it's going to act as the door. It's not going to be deep enough to surface this, so the door's going to disappear. So what I've got to do is take this section here down to that point there, and I'll just have barely enough room. It's just a thing I didn't realise when I was doing this. That point there. Should have marked it on that piece of wood so I knew that's how deep I had to go. Okay, just the things that you learn and have to sort out. Okay, I've made the alterations to depth here. Okay, I'm in the process of now getting the wood together to fill in this section here. I've already slabbed the jacaranda. I've got a piece over here. And we look closely. We've got enough light. I'm sure you can. You can see some lines on there. And you can see the line right there. Runs right there. But that's alright, because what I'm going to do now is, because of the width of this white wood, we need to put some darker wood or the lilac in there. So I'm going to cut a couple of strips along here to fill in this section here. So when I cut this out, I'm going to glue the lilac. So we've got one full door, and that's the first layer. And then we'll just keep on building it up and all. So, you know, it's just a matter of building it up until it's the right height, then I'm happy. So I'm going to go over to the bandsaw. I set you guys up to watch me cut a piece of lilac, and hopefully that it hasn't got any cracks in, so I can use it for the edges of this here. Here's a little bit of risk for you. I will be able to cut this piece of wood. This travelling steady I made looks very risky. Big gap underneath there. One holding point there. One holding point there. And that piece of wood underneath there supporting it. This is the risk we take. We've got a 3-point contact. That's what we can remember. So we should be able to cut this. I need this big bit of lilac for the project. Let's see what happens.
Circulation improves. It means all the snakes, lizards, echidnas, koalas, kangaroos, potoroos. It's important that we take care.
That'll work. It's a travelling steady, and I had this old sash clamp lying around, and it was bent like that, so I straightened it out. Got the 2 pieces of aluminium, 2x3, made a bracket, and bolted this in there. That in there works perfectly. I don't know if you can see this handle. Why do I have that piece of wood in there? Because I take that out, falls down and hits against this edge here. So put that in there. It don't go anywhere. That's fantastic. Oh well, we'll keep on scabbing bits of wood and we'll get this job done. Got to get the grain patterns running right. Okay, this is a little bit different, but there's one side of the dog, and this is the other side. We'll use this. I'll show you how I'll get rid of that. Not straight away, but I'm sure I'll get the chance to show you. Might be able to see some chips out of here on the borderline. We'll be able to get through that too. Right. Well, there you have it. Got our two pieces. Now we'll go and work with it, see what I'm doing. Okay, couple of bits of lilac, just cut on the bandsaw. Another piece here. Now we're going to reclaim some material off these. So first of all, I've cut the side, I've planed this side, I've cut the side square. Now I'll machine it up, put it through the planer, as you can see there, and then we'll take the next step forward. So I'll just move these guys back a little bit, hang on. Just think of all my hands and all that as I do this. I'll close up the edge a little bit so we're not taking the risk of anything grabbing hold of it, of the blades grabbing hold of any of my body. So I get that nice and small. It automatically stays square. It's very good, this machine. Although it's a very, very old machine, probably about 60 or 70 years old. I'd done a job for someone. Actually, it was repairing a dinghy. He didn't have the money. He says, "Oh, you can have this old saw if you want." And I said, "No worries." And actually, it's been very handy ever since. Of course, I've gone right through it and I've changed the motors on it. I've got 2 drive motors now, 3/4 horsepower for the plane and 3 phase, and 2.5 horsepower for the saw. Doesn't need that much, but you can use it. Okay, here we go. I think you guys can see me. I'm sure you can. So what we've got to do here is I've got to only have half inch of thickness here, and then I can cut it 36 mil or something like that. Well, it's got to be 36 mil deep. So I'll do the next thing is I'm going to put it in here, measure up. There we have it. And then we're off we go. With this piece here, got a little bit of a knot in here. Don't particularly want to use that. I've got another piece here, so I'll use that instead. But I could have got it out of there if I wanted to. Oh well. Actually, I might be able to get 2 out of this one here. How wide is that? No. Can't do that. And there's the start of that knot. Have a look.